Hello and welcome to the Awards Buzz Oscar predictions. I'm Abe Friedtanzer.
I'm Sari Cohen.
I'm Scott Menzel.
I'm Shadan Larki.
And I'm Stacey Yvonne.
All right, shall we dive into Best Picture, guys?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I feel like I've been given a huge privilege here. I'm very honored that I was chosen for this. Okay, so the 10 that I have for Best Picture, and I have them ranked. I have Anora, The Brutalist, Amelia Perez, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Sing Sing, Gladiator 2, A Complete Unknown, Wicked, and Blitz.
So,
Hey, Scott.
so I don't think I'm really not certain that Blitz is going to get in. And I'm not certain that Complete Unknown is going to get in. Those are my two that I would say are not certain. I would say Nickel Boys and Real Pain would be swapped out for those two.
I think that with A Complete Unknown might be a little too late. I don't know that enough people are going to really be able to ingest it in time for nominations and awards. I unfortunately don't even know when it's really coming out. I know at some point soon though. The other one, Blitz, feels a lot like the campaigns that they're doing for it are a lot like they did for the Outrun. I don't know what it is about Saoirse Ronan this season, but they're trying so hard to get us to watch those movies, and just like not interested.
Nah.
The Blitz seems very interesting, but I think that there's just kind of a glut of pictures like that are in that vein. We've just seen it so many times that there's not enough to really distinguish it just yet. So I think there's a lot of stiff competition.
I was gonna say I'm curious what y'all think about The Substance.
I think that could be a surprise one. Or I could see it more Golden Globes, not necessarily Oscars, maybe a indie or one of the kind of fringe awards. But I don't know that the Oscar voters or the Academy is going to respond to it the way that it's necessarily intended.
Interesting.
We didn't say The Room Next Door yet, right?
No.
That's one that I have in there. I'm very concerned about Sing Sing. I'd like to be hearing a lot more about Sing Sing. And
yeah.
I'm not so sure. I want it to be, and it's definitely in like my top 5 of the year, but I'm a little worried. I also think there were a few films. Saturday Night is probably not looking too strong, but it's still a possibility. September 5, another one that I think we'll just have to see what reactions are like to it. And the other film besides A Complete Unknown that very few people have seen, which is Nosferatu. And I think that could be too genre-y, but I feel like Nightmare Alley is a comparable sort of entry that shows there's an appetite for this kind of thing. So possible.
Speaking
I
of,
mean, go ahead.
What about juror number 2? Could that be anything?
No. I think that's not going to happen. I mean, I think they made a really strong decision when they said that they weren't going to campaign for it. I know because of strong word of mouth that they are campaigning for it, but I think it's a wrong decision personally. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, and Nicholas Hoult is going to put all his energy into the Focus film, and it's not going to go there. So I do want to throw out Wicked. I think Wicked will kick either Sing Sing or Gladiator 2 off this. I do as well.
I agree. It's been interesting to see the whole evolution because I think we were all thinking like Joker. I feel like everybody thought that was going to be the movie. And out of your list, Shadan, I would say Anora seems to me like the front runner. But like you said, also I think Wicked is gonna blow a lot out of the competition. I do.
Yeah.
You know,
I go ahead, Stacey. Sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say about Anora. Anora feels to me like it's the progressive choice. It's the one that makes a statement. And I think it's going to get to a certain point on that. and then it's going to drop, unfortunately. I think that, I mean, the way that anyone feels about women, and specifically specific roles that women play, because the difference between, you know, Honora and the Last Showgirl, it's like, okay, you know. So I feel like I think Honora rightfully is going to get some attention. I don't know that it is going to get the highest accolades. I think it's going to drop out pretty soon, unfortunately.
I agree with you, Stacey, on that. I think that the movie is also tonally a little bit of a mess. I know a lot of people have not been talking about this, but the movie goes from, you know, very kind of like in your face sex scenes for the first 30 minutes to this weird kind of road trip comedy to a very, very heavy ending. And I'm not really sure the tone goes across the board really well. I think it's very up and down and all over the place. And I think it's slowly losing momentum, especially with stuff coming out. And I think that the way the movie ends, being such, I mean, I hate to say it, but like it ends on a very like rough downer note. And especially what just happened earlier this week. I think we're in the mood where we want to be uplifted. And that's why I think something that's going to make you feel good is going to have a stronger case. So maybe Amelia Perez or a Wicked kind of sneaks up and rises just because of what's happening in the world.
I completely disagree with you, boss. I think Nora, the ending is just, I can't stop thinking about that ending. And I think that that's going to have a lot of impact on people. And I think there are a lot of tonal shifts, but they do work for me. What you have convinced me to do is swap Blitz probably for something like A Real Pain. Because I think something like A Real Pain does make people feel good and does feel timely. And I do feel like that's going to be one of those indies that's going to be like one of the indies that goes all the way. So good
I
job,
saw real
Donald Scott, on convincing me to of that.
I saw Real Pain at Sundance, and as soon as I watched it, I said, "Oh, this is going to come back, and it's going to
Yeah.
stay." And 99% of it is because of the direction of writing, but then also Kieran's performance. He's going to get something out of it. He did a phenomenal job of being so annoying. For me, I was just like, if this boy doesn't sit down, but then understanding exactly where he's coming from, and always everybody knows that guy, and you're just like, either hug him or you strangle him, you know. And it might be a little bit of both. So I believe that, oh, the Honora of it all, I was thinking a lot about, I've been thinking a lot about this, because Shadan, you're right, you can't stop thinking about it. But another movie that I can't stop thinking about is Blink Twice. And right now it's not really being talked about as like awards potential, but for what it was, especially being a debut feature, it was very well put together and it had a strong message. And I think that it's wild to me that Joker gets more discussion and play than a film like Blink Twice, because those feel like the antithesis of kind of what we're trying to achieve. And the Joker of it all, I was telling a friend of mine, I said, you know, the Heath Ledger, just, this is my personal opinion, so this does not reflect everybody's, but I said the Heath Ledger Joker was very anti-establishment. He was very, he was bad dude, but like to a point, even if you didn't fully understand why he did what he did, you could respect it, you know, he was thinking more than just himself. I said, this Joker currently is JD Vance. You know, I was like, this Joker is wildly very solipsistic and very self-centered and very kind of inwardly focused. And I think that viewers, even if they couldn't put a word to it, they felt that. And then you have, you know, another movie like Honora, where it is kind of speaking for more people, and it is putting the stories that actually do happen, not necessarily in an exact sense. It's not a Cinderella story for every sex worker out there, but you have it where this story is being told to represent this group of people, but it's a group of people that were not quite ready to defend or contend with. And it almost feels both dated and ahead of its time. And those
Are you
are
talking about Last Showgirl?
no, I was talking about Honora.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say, like, the reason why I feel like a Last Showgirl hasn't gotten it hasn't gotten a lot of momentum is really something that a lot of people don't talk about, and that's the campaigning behind it, right?
Yeah.
Neon has clearly always puts a lot of campaign dollars. They know how to get their movies out. And poor Roadside Attractions, even though they have some good movies, they just don't have those resources to do it. And there are a lot of parallels. Like I think when you look at Nora versus Last Showgirl, I think Last Showgirl is a lot more grounded in a real world scenario where, like, there's elements of Nora that are grounded. And like you said, the ending and the beginning, but that middle part for me is where, like, you kind of like go on this different adventure. So I don't know. It's just like it's always interesting when you have movies, and we've seen this a lot where there's been like movies with similar themes that kind of come out, but one of them picks up and the other one doesn't. And I feel this is the case with that.
Campaigning. I mean, just to that point, like The Last Showgirl, I feel like that is something that I have heard among celebrities that I've spoken to who will bring that movie up in conversation that were so impacted by it. I mean, people really, it made such a difference to people, but you're right. I think the campaigning fell flat. I think it probably could have been a contender, but I don't see it.
Well, there's
Still
people that
time.
don't know that Jamie
There's
Lee
still
Curtis.
time.
There's still time.
We never know. We never know. But time is something we'll need. We obviously have a lot to discuss. And so we're going to have a lot more conversations like this. But I'm going to keep us moving and head us over to Best Director.
All right, here we go. Sean Baker and Nora, Bradley Corbett, The Brutalist, Edward Berger, Conclave, Denis Villeneuve, Dune Part 2, and I'm actually going to say Ridley Scott Gladiator 2.
Ooh.
I have, yeah, go ahead, Stacey, please.
I was going to say, I agree. I don't like Ridley in this category. I know he's going to be in it. I know they're going to pick him.
I would agree with you on this too. I don't think he deserves it either.
He does a great fight scene. I mean, what can we say? The problem is that this Gladiator 2 was such a copy and paste movie. And it was kind of to like a weird extreme. Like there were times where there were like crowds in the background. You're like, you pasted those in. Like it was literally like every trope. There were sometimes where a certain music would come in. And I'm like, did you just go through your playbook? I was like, okay, we'll throw this in, we'll do this, we'll do that, this, that, and the third. It was just very sloppy. And I was someone, because when The Last Duel, I think it was either last year, 2022, I gave that a great review. I couldn't stand that movie, but it was extremely well directed and well put together. And so I had to give it its kudos. This year, I'm like, oh no, I don't know.
Well, Abe felt very strongly about Gladiator 2. He wants this to be in every category.
No, I think though it's important to remember that we don't represent everybody, and I think Gladiator 2 really hit very well with a lot of people, and especially Ridley having the first film, not having won for the first film because of the Steven Soderbergh dual nomination and win that year. For me, what's strange is I feel like Denis Villeneuve is not safe, but to snub him 2 films in a row seems just cruel. It's sort of unthinkable that he wasn't nominated for the first one, but I think about Peter Jackson, who was snubbed for The Two Towers and then came back and won everything for Return of the King. So I'm not really sure where Dune Part 2 is going to go here, because I think technically it's that and Wicked, like just competing for every prize, but I don't know in the top categories, especially without an acting nominee. You know, I'm just not sure what to make of its chances.
I don't.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sarah.
And I feel like for me, he's my top pick for director. I think this is his year for it. I'm curious also what you think about Emilia Perez.
That's what I
Jacques.
was gonna say. I have that
Yeah.
listed, although I think there seems to be a lot of pushback against it, which I don't know if it amounts to anything. I mean, Green Book won Best Picture, and a lot of people hate that movie, so you never know whether what that amounts to. But I do have him predicted.
I have Audiard. I think if we're just talking about the state of the race right now, I just feel like Amelia Perez feels very strong right now. He's going to be in. I currently have Villeneuve in my 6th slot just because I feel like we know there's going to be a third one, and so maybe they're just saving it. I have a controversial pick for number 5, which is Mohammad Rasulullah for The Seed of the Sacred Fig, because he has such a strong narrative. I think just where we are politically, people are going to want to reward him. The director's branch is becoming increasingly international. So ask me a week from now, I may feel differently. I just feel like that's a name that we could be seeing a lot and a name that we should be discussing.
Oh my God, and they're pushing that movie
That's what I was
so
just gonna
hard.
say.
I cannot tell you how many damn screening invites I've got to that movie, more than any other movie this season.
We have an interview with him coming to Awards Buzz soon.
Yay.
I also would note Pedro Almodovar is a possibility too. I think people were very warm about this film, and I realize that it may not translate to anything, but I'm still feeling the room next door, especially because I feel like it premiered so many times. Like I missed it a whole bunch of times and I finally saw it, so that there were so many different groups of people who saw it and loved it, and then there was just time. It doesn't necessarily mean lack of enthusiasm, it's just a question of how strongly it sticks.
Well, that was my comment about it. Because when you mentioned it the last time, I said, I don't know how they're going to kind of bring it back into the zeitgeist, like to keep talking about it. Because I remember TIFF, it was all the rage. And of course, it won the Golden Lion at Venice.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic film. But it's quintessential, Amodar. Like, what are you going to do? Like, he knows what he does well, and he does it very, very well. And of course, you have 2 actresses at the top of their game, just blowing you away. It's a fantastic film, but I'm hoping that people don't forget about it.
I would
Yeah.
also contradict my enthusiasm by noting that his last 2 films, both of which were English language shorts, were not nominated at all. So that's who knows what's going on. That said, the Academy has never been consistent, if anything. So, any other thoughts on director before we move on to those people we see in front of the cameras?
I also feel like Nickel Boys, that's something that lately I've been hearing a lot about. And I feel like that could be a surprise for
That
director.
could be a surprise. I 100% agree, because the POV of it all really took a lot of people by it really shocked a lot of people. And I found they either hated it or they loved it, or they hated it and then they loved it. And I remember when I was watching it, I said, I don't mind it so much as long as it doesn't become Tree of Life. Like, I need there to be a narrative. I need there to be full and complete sentences and scenes. And after like the first 5 minutes, it just came together so beautifully. And I went to see it at AFI, and the director and the cinematographer are both there, and hearing how they work together, it was just so well done. So I know they have a big press conference thing coming up. I really hope more information gets out about it, because I think more experimental film coming from people of color is needed. I think a lot of times our film directors, especially film directors of color, especially Black film directors, are kind of pigeonholed. And so it's like, well, you got to make a movie about slavery or about civil rights or about the movement, this, that, and third. And it's like, well, no, we can make like zany, fun, not fun, experimental movies just like everyone else. We should be able to have the opportunity to do that in a really impactful way.
And I think that's why American Fiction caught on like fire last year, because it felt so different and so refreshing compared to like the typical Black filmmaker story. So I'm also very curious. I mean, I don't have as much hope as some people do, but Mufasa, I'm very curious what Barry Jenkins does with that.
I was also going to say to your point, Stacey, that regardless of how we feel about Terrence Malick and The Tree of Life, he was nominated for Best Director for that movie. I also know we did not mention a single woman for Best Director, which is unfortunate. I think our best shot is actually The Substance. Coralie, I'm not sure if that's likely, but I think that is probably the best thing. But that is a conversation for a later time. Let's talk about some of the actors. Starting off with Best Actor. I have a list of 5 people, and I think they're all getting nominated. There were a couple alternates, but I feel pretty sure about these. We have Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, which remains a complete unknown to most of us, but still probably a likely nominee. Ray Fiennes for Conclave, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, even if the film doesn't make Best Picture, especially after Rustin, I think he's in. And Daniel Craig for Queer, which is a film that I think is not taking off anywhere else, but I see it. I think he's definitely going to be in there. The only 2 I could think of possibly bumping them out would be Jesse Eisenberg for A Real Pain, who also could get nominated for Best Director, which would be a little unexpected, or Sebastian Stan for A Different Man. But he also has The Apprentice. But are we not doing that anymore because Trump's president? I don't know. I don't know what the story is with that. Anybody have any other names to throw in there?
Can I just say real quick that I think that this is probably the weakest category this year, out of all of them. Like I literally like look at this. Like, I mean, you can throw Daniel Craig off this list and I would not be mad. I mean, to me, it's Coleman Domingo and Adrian Brody are like 2 top choices here. Ralph Fiennes is like Ralph Fiennes. Like, I mean, it's good, but like, it's like, come on. Like, we've seen this guy do this sort of thing a million times before. Timothy Chalamet, like, maybe like he's really growing. I know he's like a fan favorite, but also like, I don't know, like, it's like this same musical biopic guy getting in for all these times we do this. It just feels too familiar and same. I mean, really, to me, it's Coleman and Adrian Brody. I mean, I will say that I thought Sebastian Stan, who I am not a fan of at all, was phenomenal in The Apprentice, even though I was very mixed on that movie. I think he's phenomenal in the movie. But yeah, this is like a very weird category for me. I mean, Paul Mescal, I don't even know why he's even like, they have him on like 7 on Gold Derby. I'm like, get the hell out of here. He should be like down to like 20. Like, I don't know what they're talking about. Okay, sorry, enough of me.
No, I think
Nobody likes Paul Mescal. He has no fan base ever. There's no way.
No,
right,
I know.
for
This
sure.
is gonna be like, I'm gonna be like, Scott Menzel hates Paul Mescal, which I
Right.
love Normal People. I'm
His
gonna say
word.
that right now. Normal People is amazing.
All of Us Strangers was fantastic.
Oh,
know,
yes, he was great in that too.
Any promo for it, which was very
That's true. Shadan, get us back on
I
track
was
here.
just gonna say, and I love Paul Mescal. I agree with your 5, Abe. I think that's the only thing I wanted to add is, Stacey, you mentioned seeing A Real Pain at Sundance and it really stayed with you. That's how I feel about Sing Sing. Like, I saw it at South by Southwest and I literally thought about it every single day. And Coleman Domingo is my favorite performance of the entire year. And if there's one thing that I could advocate for in this Zoom, it's the work that he does. And I just think it's phenomenal. And I know we mentioned earlier that maybe the film is fading, but I think it's like a kind of once in a lifetime, really special, revelatory performance. And we're just so lucky, I think, that we got a performance like that.
I agree.
Yes.
I would like to see Coleman Domingo win this one.
Me too.
I really would. I think also, just to bring up Joker again, I think if it is going to get nominated for any category, it would be Joaquin Phoenix. Although I don't get the feeling that's going to happen, but it was like, it would be a surprise that I wouldn't be surprised, and Jesse Eisenberg, I think, but we'll see.
So I have a quick question, just because I don't know this part of it. Are they both submittable for Best Actor, or because it was kind of a two-hander? So then, are they considered supporting actor? How does that work?
No,
For the
Jesse's
Oscars-
going lead, and Kieran's going supporting.
Gotcha.
However, that's just campaigning. And they don't, for this, unlike SAG and other things, they don't actually have to listen, which is how we get 2 supporting nominees for Judas and the Black Messiah, when obviously someone has to be a lead because people vote for who they want to vote for. So I think promoting in a sense, promoting Kieran as that's an interesting thing. Having Kieran Culkin as a lead nominee is probably a worthwhile thing. You heard it first here, internet. This is a good thing. If he gets a nomination for Best Actor, if we're all saying this category is not as strong, yes, it may not be as strong all told, but like he's still not going to necessarily win. But that is always a possibility that he gets nominated here instead of supporting. But I would be surprised.
Shall we go to supporting actor next?
Let's do Best Actress.
Oh,
Best actress. Okay. All right. So my top spot, I have Angelina Jolie for Maria. Mikey Madison for Nora. I've got Amy Adams for Night Bitch, Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, and Demi Moore for The Substance.
I love this. I love that you really mix it up.
Yeah, I feel like also, I love Cynthia Erivo, and I do think Wicked really has the chance to kind of be the front runner this year. And we were just talking about, I feel like we could all use a little bit of fun and a little bit of uplifting. So I would love to see her take it. I also think with all the talk of The Substance and Demi Moore, she has a very real shot at walking away with an Oscar this year. As much as I liked Carla Sofia Gascon in Emilia Perez, I don't know that she would take it. I feel like out of everybody in that movie, Zoe is probably the front runner. And again, I mean, this is really hard. Again, with Nora, there's so much buzz around it. So it's really, this is a hard category. I feel like it's up for grabs. It could go to anyone.
I think that unfortunately, I think that Demi would have had a great shot had it not been for Maria. I think Maria is Academy bait. It is, they wanted and they gnash their teeth at it, especially learning, that she actually like sang some of her own opera and learned Italian and just did all the little background stuff that they put into it. I think that is going to be the one. I think it's Angelina's turn.
Yeah,
and
I think you're right. I have her at number one. My brain goes all over the place because I'm like, oh, I feel attached to this performance and I would like to see this. But you're totally right, Stacey. I think this, yeah.
I have to
I
throw
think
in.
that this weird thing about like Baby Girl getting in somewhere is like baffling to me. Ever since I saw the film, I'm like, wait a second, like this is 50 Shades of Grey, and we're gonna think that Nicole Kidman is gonna get in for this? Like, I don't know. Like, considering you have Amy Adams right there and Cynthia Erivo right there, and Demi Moore right there, I can't see it. I just can't see it. I know that like it's trying to get some buzz, but I also feel like we were talking about a little bit earlier about Sing Sing. I also feel like when a studio has too many movies and A24 has too many things like up in the air right now, that they really need to kind of hone in on like one or two movies. And like that's the one thing I give Netflix a lot of credit. I also criticize Netflix a lot, but I will give them a lot of credit, is that they always at least they know what their front runner is and what they want to push, right? So they're like, Emilia Perez is what we want to push this year. And we're going to go all in and we're going to really push this, right? And they're like, we do have Maria too. And we know that's a little bit of an easier sell, but we're going to really push Emilia Perez. And I feel like a lot of the campaigning is kind of all over the place this year. I don't know if you all feel this as well. Like it doesn't seem like the studios know what to push. Like Searchlight is kind of like, we have Complete Unknown and we have Night Bitch and we have Real Pain, but like they don't know like, okay, we really want to push this one. This is the one we should be pushing ahead of time. So that's another problem that I think is also hurt Baby Girl and also hurt Queer, is because they have too many things in competition, especially with Brutalist, which is like the surefire one that's going to get in the most categories.
What do we think about the performance?
Which
The performance. Oh, well, that's probably right there. Jeremy Pivens. Shira, his sister Shira directed it, and I was thinking about it because I think like a huge anniversary for D-Day or something is coming up because there are a ton of like Nazi films like that have come out. We're looking at Lee, and we have Nuremberg coming up, and of course Brutalist has, you know, the issues. And so the performance is about this I think he's a ventriloquist or a clown that was made to perform for Hitler, and so kind of tells the story on that. And I've noticed that there's been just kind of a lot of buzz, but I've been hearing a lot of kind of under the radar talk about it. And so I was just like, I didn't know if you guys had any thoughts about
Spirit
it.
Awards. I mean, like whenever I hear a movie like that, I always go like Spirit Awards. Because there seem to be like one of the only few, I mean, even the Gothams this year went way more mainstream than I expected. I mean, I thought it was very surprising that Amelia Perez got completely snubbed at Gotham's. Not a single person from that cast got it, which was very strange. But they also, like, the movies in general were like, they usually, that's where you kind of go like, what is this movie? And you look it up and you're like, oh, okay. So I think Spirit Awards is like the one place where you'll probably see something like that pop up. And again, like we talked about a little bit earlier, it all depends on the network. And I feel like the network itself or the studio, it's not a big studio, so it probably won't get a push. I also heard that Billy Zane movie, where he plays Marlon Brando, they're trying to push that movie out this year. And like, there's no way. They should save it for next year. It's over already. Don't add something else to the mix.
We should keep championing the underdogs. We want to be not just like predicting, but at least lifting up some of these smaller things. I do think there are a handful of other names for Best Actress we should be thinking about. Tilda Swinton for The Room Next Door. Julianne Moore, probably less likely, also for The Room Next Door. Saoirse Ronan, is she going to be the Emily Blunt or the Scarlett Johansson? Will she get 2 nominations or 0 nominations? And right now I'm leaning towards 0, but I do think even though the Outrun, I saw it very early, she was very good. I don't remember almost anything about it. It did not stick with me. I think she's 30 and she has a very respected past nominee. June Squibb just turned I think today turning 95. Like Thelma, that is definitely something to think about more for Golden Globes. But the other, in addition to The Seed of the Sacred Fig, which would not get nominated here, I don't think, despite deserving to, I'm Still Here is another foreign film that I think is being really trumpeted. And Fernanda Torres, her mother was nominated for Central Station. I think we need to see a lot more. There's too many underdogs in this category. Like there have to, but I think it's possible that only Mikey and Angelina are safe, and everyone else is sort of just like, I don't think there's as much discord in the other categories, but we should have a closing thought or two about Best Actress, maybe from Shadan, and then move on to Supporting Actor.
I was just gonna say one more name, Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Hard Truths.
I have her here, and I forgot to say her. She is she's very, very likely, I think. Although Leslie Manville got snubbed for another year, so you never know how they feel about Mike Lee, and so that's, and then she got nominated after. Like, who knows?
It's also the campaigning. I've been it's been like pulling teeth trying to get a screening of that. It's been crazy.
Yep.
All right. Are we doing?
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't have these ranked, so it's a free for all. I have Denzel Washington for Gladiator 2, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, Guy Pearce for The Brutalist. This is where you're going to disagree with me, but I have Yuri Borisov for Anora, and I'm going to hang on to this nomination like the Titanic door, but Clarence Macklin for Sing Sing.
Mm.
What about Stanley Tucci for Conclave?
Yeah, I don't have anyone from, which I know the smart choice is to pick Stanley Tucci from Conclave, and I think he is the strongest contender from that film, and he's charming, and he has a book coming out, and he's all over the place. But
let's go. Also,
I think that's the issue, is that there are too many. I think everybody when they're put in such a great performance that it just splits whatever votes there might be for it.
I also think for
Stacey,
September 5,
you're on fire today, Stacey.
You have the same issue with September 5, where John Magaro, Peter Sarsgaard, I feel like they both get a lot of attention if the film gets any attention. I I know I keep saying The Room Next Door, and it seems like I'm the number one person. I just considered it everywhere. John Turturro, I think, is another actor who has never been nominated for an Oscar and is sort of like just on the cusp. He has a smaller role than I thought, so that may not help as much.
I was going to
And
say, I
I
don't
don't
know if he
think
had enough screen time.
we're not talking about The Fire Inside enough, and I don't know if Amazon MGM Studios is pushing that. But Brian Tyree Henry got nominated for Causeway, which was like a tiny little movie, and I feel like The Fire Inside, even though it's not coming out for a while, is going to be really, really big. The one I will champion, and I have in my predictions right now, is Adam Pearson for A Different Man, because that is a film I saw back at Sundance. He is still sticking with me. He got a Gotham nomination. He is so personable, and whatever your feelings on Sebastian Stan, he steals the film, and I think that as long as enough effort is put on his campaign, I think he can make it.
It's the A24 of it all again. So I'm gonna say it again. There's too many films. Too many films. I think that movie's gonna be the one that's gonna get left off. I think we saw it at Gotham's, and we probably won't see it again until Spirit Awards. I mean, this is also another category where like it kind of can go either way. Like I feel like Denzel, Guy, and Kieran are kind of the safe bets. And then the rest of them are sort of all over the place. I want to also just say, like, the piano lesson, like, I don't know what's going on with that movie. Like, I feel like they put it out and, like, it kind of got lukewarm reviews, but then I just, like, the buzz just disappeared from it.
It's about to get another push coming up soon. The premiere's coming up, and so you'll hear some more stuff about that fairly soon. But I agree, it's gone under the radar, and that is also my fear about what was the one we were just talking about? Sorry, I have medicine head.
Different
Nickel
Man?
Boys?
No, right before this last thing, right before Piano Player, you're talking about a movie. I'll think of it later.
Oh, different man was what Abe was talking about, and then I
Fire
mean,
Inside?
Oh, Clarence. There we go. From
oh,
Sing Sing.
Sing. Yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, no
he
campaigning
did,
either.
but I wonder if that is a budget issue. They've been doing a lot more in New York than they have been in LA, but also online. They did put out the screeners, and so it is available like on the app and all that good stuff, which is very helpful. But yeah, there needs to be more campaigning, and I really think that they should put Clarence up. I don't know that they know that they can. You know what I mean? There's something that it feels like it's a little bit of that there can be only one mentality. And so it's like, well, we got to push Coleman. But I think that if you push both, then you bring even more attention to the film.
Yeah, I wonder though how much we're gonna see co-stars being paired, because I feel like if you watch Sing Sing and you see how great, like you're gonna be like, well, Clarence Macklin is right there, incredible as well. And that's kind of also why I have one of the Honora guys in there, because I feel like if you go big for Honora and you see Mikey Madison and you are thinking about that final scene, then you're gonna want to put Yuri kind of along for the ride as well. I don't know how much that mentality is gonna come into play this year, but I feel like there's a lot of situations where we could see certain co-stars kind of come along for the ride.
So that being said, there's also Edward Norton for A Complete Unknown. I mean, that could be one of those situations.
It's possible. I mean, we all won't know about Complete Unknown, and I mean, they're really pushing that late. I think the first screening is happening around November 20th. They might do a couple days before it, but it's very close to the Thanksgiving holiday. And over the last couple of years, when they push movies out, look at Color Purple. They pushed it out last minute, and it didn't end up going very many places, even though I think that movie is very, very good and was criminally overlooked.
Yeah. Well, let's round things off with our supporting actress conclusion.
Yes. So supporting actresses, it's funny because a lot of the movies that have really strong supporting actresses aren't the ones that are being talked about. Unfortunately, There's one called The Assessment with Elizabeth Olsen and Alicia Vikander. Fantastic.
Is
And
that Oscar eligible or just, I don't know, because that didn't actually come out. That may just be like Spirit and Gotham eligible.
that's true. Yeah, yeah. Has there been more talk about his three daughters? I would have loved for more talk about that. It's just
I
I
also,
know.
Natasha.
Netflix also was campaigning, what at some point they were campaigning Natasha Lyonne as lead, and then
mm,
she got a supporting nomination from the Gothams. So it's like, I
yeah.
don't think they know what to do with the people from that film.
It's such a weird thing, but yes, I agree because Carrie Coon was fantastic, Natasha was fantastic, Elizabeth was. I mean, it's just such a so good. But on my list, I did put Margaret Qualley in there. I think that she is one that not doesn't necessarily go under the radar, but she delivers performances. And with all of the talk of nepotism and this, that, and third, all of that gets eradicated if you can do a good job. And she does a great job. I forget constantly that she is a Nepo baby, but then it's like, she's done the work. She's put it in, and that's what we want to see. And I think that voters, especially those of us who are critics or who are, on this kind of side of the industry, really appreciate that and can actually like, yeah, same thing with like John David Washington or with Malcolm, with piano player. So my next one, of course, was depending on if she's lead or supporting, would be Tilda. I thought Tilda Swinton, dual role, amazing. Just she's Tilda. I have a fantastic story to tell you guys about that later. So
Definitely is
um
being campaigned as lead, I will just say. So
okay,
it would be
yeah.
interesting to see her here, but
Mhm.
especially given our apparent lack of enthusiasm for the film, I liked it. I don't know that she's going to end up in a different category. Continue though, please.
As a spoiler and a surprise, I'm interested to see if they would give Zendaya a nod. Just a nod for Challengers. I think that that was a movie that surprised a lot of people. I think it also, despite her being on Euphoria, despite her really kind of already proving herself, it really showed people that she was an actress, that she just wasn't like a pop star face. I would be interested, especially because of her participation with Dune. I would be interested to see if anything becomes of that. So we'll see. Um, there's one, I believe it was released, Andrea Arnold's Bird, which I have a lot of issues with, but I really like Nakia Adams in it. And she's another one, though. I don't know because of her age if she would be put under like supporting. I don't quite know how that will work, but I have been hearing a lot of talk about that, not necessarily about that movie because but her performance is fantastic in it. Danielle Deadweiler, I mean, my God. And again, if she's not run as lead, if she does get, like supporting, but she's in another movie. Oh no, and I just blanked on the name, but it's also fantastic. I think it's getting close to her time. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be this year, but if she keeps kind of banging out these performances, we're going to have the year of Danielle Deadweiler. So I'm excited for her. And then Isabella Rossellini. I think that people are just really excited by those performances. We could also see another JLC nod if they talk about Last Showgirl a little bit more. We could see her kind of being thrown in there again. I don't think she's gonna get it, but I think people might talk and might do a little fun surprise in there. So that's what I got so far.
Oh, there's so much to chew on what you just said. I mean, so Zendaya, I think, is actually going to lead for challengers. I'm almost positive that she's in that. And I can kind of see that movie getting some pickup. It depends. Like I saw that they're doing like a push a little bit for that. I feel like it's always tricky when someone's in two movies in the same year because it's like they have to kind of pick Dune, and like obviously Dune's kind of like a lock for like several categories, but clearly not acting, right? Like there's nobody on this stream thinks that anyone's going to get in for acting, right? For Dune and any
Now
category.
Austin Butler.
Yeah. But I just feel like they really should push her for challengers, because I really do think she can get in. I really do. I think it's so easy to kind of flip flop some of those people. This is another category where like there's so many things. I mean, I know what we were talking about Saoirse Ronan, and I can't see it happening. I love Saoirse Ronan. I wanted to be very clear, but I just can't see it with these two movies. I don't think they're strong enough movies, and I don't think that she has like the Judy of it all with these performances. I don't think they're strong enough. But I want to echo your three daughters. And again, I'm very opinionated. A lot of people know that about me, but I just wish that these studios would stop having so many movies in the competition. I really it just hurts them so much, because His Three Daughters is so good, but they just can't focus on it because they have all these other things they have to focus on. And it kind of hurts this really great movie. Another movie that no one's talking about is Woman of the Year. A Woman of the Hour or whatever. What is a year or hour? What is that? Hour.
Film of the year,
Like,
Woman of the Hour.
Yeah. But that's another one like no one's talking about, just because there's just so much, like they can't campaign all this stuff. It's nearly impossible. They really have to narrow these things down to like 2 to 3 films max, and just push them out.
I think
Well, I think on that, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say I think Isabella Rossellini is a great contender. I think Ariana Grande we might see because of Wicked. I think it would be interesting to see Selena Gomez get an Oscar nod the same year she gets her first Emmy nod. I also think Zoe Saldana is like, she's at the top for me. She is, first of all, Lioness. She's fantastic in that, and she really did. For Amelia Perez, she was on fire. This is a fantastic year for her, and she's everywhere. I mean, that there was like a week stretch where I saw her every day out at events, whether it was for Amelia Perez or for Lioness. But I think this could be a big year for her.
In the best supporting actress, I want to ask you guys, what do we think J-Lo's chances are?
I think that it depends if Amazon is pushing Unstoppable or The Fire Inside, because they're both similar in a sense. I think one of them is a lot better than the other just as a film. They're both great stories. And I think neither of them will get nominated for anything.
Yeah.
But
The Fire Inside, if anything, though. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that because of what it is, Unstoppable is the one that is getting pushed. It's the one with a ton of screenings, a ton of events, and she is showing up at them. I mean, I think she did a fine job. It was fine. But word worthy, I don't know.
if she couldn't get in for Hustlers, I feel like she can't get in for anything, because that's a performance.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's also, I mean, I feel like there are other contenders who really will depend on how their films do. Felicity Jones, The Brutalist. I think The Brutalist, people seem to love it. I'm not confident it's going to be quite as like everywhere as everyone thinks, because I think it can turn some people off, and it's possible to just go for the men.
It's so long.
Yeah, and also I said we're looking for like really uplifting. Let's choose The Brutalist. That's going to make us feel better in this moment. A good laugh.
But it's such a classic supporting wife role, though.
That's true.
Like a Academy type role.
That's true. We also have Anjanou Ellis-Taylor for Nickel Boys, if that takes off, which I don't know, but she's another one she's been involved in so much stuff, and would be great to see. I don't know, Leonie Benesch, I think, from September 5. The Teacher's Lounge was a nominee last year. She was in that. I don't know that that'll happen, but if for some reason that film was beloved, she is probably the best one in the film, in my opinion. We also, another film that we've completely forgotten about, very sadly, is Dee Dee. And I think Joan Chen has a really great narrative. When I spoke to her, she said she was in The Last Emperor. It won all these Oscars, and that was in 1987. And she hasn't had like a really great role in that time. And so I think there's certainly a narrative, and that will come back to what Scott was saying earlier, just about, is she being pushed enough? And is there enough, I think we have a lot. This is a very competitive year for the first time feature director at the DGA Awards. Anna Kendrick and Isaac, Sean Wong. So many people. There's just so much, and we should have more slots in the categories that deserve them and fewer in the ones that don't.
Yeah, I would agree. I
Are we
would
going to
agree with
talk
that.
international?
We are almost out of time, so I think let's spend a minute or two just throwing out some of our top international films that we hope will be considered, and we will be back for many, many more of these conversations because we obviously have a lot to say, which is great, and we hope those of you watching appreciate and enjoy it.
Well, I think
Um,
Amelia Perez for international feels like one of the strongest locks of the evening for me. And we didn't touch on Selena Gomez too much. I don't have her predicted, and I will say I think she feels like one of those people to me that's gonna show up all season and then get snubbed on Oscar morning, right? I don't know. So those are my thoughts, and I think A Seed of a Sacred Fig is also gonna show up. I think I'm still
I'm still
Here.
here.
Yeah.
here to be a contender. Um, International feels like kind of like Amelia Perez has just taken all the air out of the room, and everything else is kind of struggling to survive a little bit. Um, Not a
Yep.
not a category that I feel is particularly strong this year outside of like three things.
What do you think of Armand?
I've not gotten a chance to see that yet.
Oh, I
But
love it.
it's on my radar.
I will definitely do a like short list analysis because that's sort of the first big like sense of, oh, there are the films we thought, and then there are those ones that we're just all scrambling to seek out that I imagine voters are also like, oh, I have to go find all these. Anybody
Yeah.
else have other international entries that are on their mind?
I mean, international, I feel like I'm going to echo Shadan. I really feel, I mean, they've been pushing The Sacred Fig. They've been pushing I'm Still Here, but I mean, Amelia Perez just seems like the one that everyone's so ingrained with. And I don't even know that much about any of the other titles. I know like I've been getting a lot of emails about them, but like there just seems like there's no communication or buzz whatsoever around international films this year, which is so weird after the last couple of years because, All Quiet and RRR, like these movies like had so much buzz, but I just feel like there's nothing that's taking off that we haven't already been talking about for months.
Yeah, there's the one,
Well,
the Belgian, and I'm totally slipping on the name of it right now. I actually wrote it down and I cannot.
Is that the Kneecap? Is that you're going to say Kneecap?
That's Ireland.
Oh, that's Ireland.
Yeah, no, that's Ireland. Yeah, the one for Belgium looks good. I haven't seen it yet, but there is a screening coming up this week. But also, I mean, I'm gonna echo Shadan. And you, Scott. I feel like we're not hearing a lot about other entries, and I feel like I'm Still Here and Amelia Perez. It's just the battle is gonna be between those two. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sad
think
I'm sad no one on this stream has mentioned Better Man for Best Picture. I mean, what's going on, guys? Why is there no Better Man for
Well, that
Best
was
Picture?
gonna
never
be
know. Golden Gloves, you never
my
know.
closing question is like, is there a movie that we didn't mention that you think that we should be talking about that we didn't even bring up?
Mm.
Did we
good-
miss Dee Dee when you mentioned that, Abe? I was like,
Yeah,
yeah, Dee
I
Dee.
know, but I think we're past that. I mean, there's just so much. I was thinking even just like AFI Fest screened 15 or so international entries. I only managed to see Universal Language and Under the Volcano, which I think
Right.
both could contend, but there's so much out there. And I think Nosferatu is one that we just want to watch out for because we don't know
Yes.
anything. And I have no idea what's going to happen with that. But we're going to talk next about the Golden Globes because I feel like there's so much possibility of just things really getting a boost or just being completely absent. That could be really interesting there. So, anyone else have closing thoughts to offer today?
I was just going to say Jude Law in The Order. I think that could be a
Wow.
surprise. Maybe not, maybe even for Oscars, but it really was a different performance from him. It's something that we haven't seen before, and he did a very good job. But that's another film that kind of slips under the radar a bit, and he's not really doing a lot of press for it either. So,
I mean, I also, just to throw it out there, I thought Hitman was great. A ton of fun. And I feel like it had the strong word of mouth over the summer, but it is sort of just fizzled out.
And
well, and it's linked later.
yeah, but adapted screenplay is kind of stacked. Otherwise, I would say it could be a screenplay contender because Glenn Powell is the co-writer with Linklater. So
Oh.
Yeah. There's a lot to discuss, and we thank you all for joining us today. We will have many more of these, and in the meantime, you can catch our reviews, interviews, follow Awards Buzz on all social media platforms, and stay tuned for more.